continue to observe protocols and procedures. Though it's a kind of difficult situation for our people across the country, changing the way of life, traditional norms. But I mean, to live, you have to forgo other things.
Definitely.
So our uncles, our membership across the country, are also trying their best to educate the public that we need to be safe. That's the only way we can participate in other things.
Definitely. All right. So before we come to the main reason why you're here, let's throw some light on the PUL anniversary. I understand it's coming up soon, and you've selected county already.
Yeah. Then we so we will have the anniversary in Tottenham Republic County. It should be the 30th of September every year. We will be going there. We named speakers and the rest, but we have already set up the committee chaired by Coffey. We've got other members of the committee there, Militia Rebels, then the coordinator in Western Region. They are all part of the committee, Ma Rogers, Demo Yankwe, and then some people who hail from the Western Region are also on the committee, like Rufus Paul, Sheikh Soni, Lawrence Famula, So when we are going to bomb it, it's like we're going in the entire Western region.
Yeah.
So we are mobilizing so that we can have an anniversary to reflect on the past and what do we do during this coronavirus.
Interesting. Is there a theme for this year's celebration yet?
Yeah, we're going to develop that.
Okay.
We'll develop a theme, for this year's celebration. We had a lot of things that we didn't do, even the war nights and the rest. So we contemplating on doing something before the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll develop a team.
Interesting. What would be, your words? Because aside from the PUL own celebration, you have the All Liberian Journalists Association, regular convention that comes up regularly. Is that also going to be possible this year?
Yes, AJA. We may not be people. Liberian journalists may not be leaving from Liberia to go to the United States as usually happen, but then it will be held in collaboration with them on the 26th of this September, beginning tomorrow, September.
Okay.
We are in communication with the IJA's leadership. We will have a hall here, and so we'll have through other technology that it will be simultaneous. While they're having it, we all do it jointly, maybe through Zoom. All of us will make comments and speeches like we're in America. So we'll observe that this year. Then by next year, by the grace of God, people begin to go there. So that will be happening here on the 26th. While they are observing it in the United States, we too also will be observing it. Yeah.
Interesting. On Facebook at LNTV Liberia Live. That is the Facebook page. You can follow the live presentation. Now let's talk a bit about this issue of rape, especially on how it's been lifted. Just now, just as you entered the studio, I was talking to Augustus Zion, speaking about another rape situation in Grenada County.
Yes, the rape issue is of importance to the survival of the state. I joined the women the first day of the protest, in solidarity. We went at the capital. That we have daughters, we have wives and mothers, and people who are doing that. It's a devilish act. We support modifying the rape laws to conform to our traditional norms. That punitive measures must be instituted that will deter people that once somebody hear about rape, they are afraid. We need to do that.
But how strong can the rape law be? Except
we have a
call for
law.
The death penalty.
Well, that's why we're trying to read. We still have these laws on the book. They haven't repealed the law that when you kill, the law shall kill you. But the various conventions, international protocols, require that we abolish, punishment by killing people once they commit crime. So there are other mitigations that can be done. For me, I suggest we have more, establish more courts, and we should have the technology, like the president talked about, purchasing DNA machine, so they can be speeded, and then the proper action will be taken. Because I know some people were released from further detention because when they investigated, they were false and misleading on them.
Yeah.
So some people use that to get at other people. But once you have the technology and somebody is actually guilty of the act, those actions should be taken like, hard punishment, hard labor in prison. You can't just keep somebody who is convicted and admitted raping, especially minor, will be in prison, watching television on a daily basis, eating 4 or 5 times without any hard labor, especially when that person died. So these are some of the clauses the legislature will look at. Then is the awareness to educate the public, especially looking at our different traditional values and norms. So if all of us are, aware and provide a level of education, it will minimize the rape issues. So we have to do awareness. Why the laws are on the books? Because we got laws. We got rape laws. So let us rethink all of the methods that were being employed. Why people are still involved in such act? Is the message not reaching out, or the punitive measures against them are not, that much strong to deter people? We have to study all of these things. So indeed, the media is doing well because of the media, people are hearing about rape. Yeah, people are highlighting the rape issues. When people are protesting, the media highlights that. That's the work of the media. But I think we ourselves will begin in the learning institutions as well. The kids must be educated. In the States, they train the children when there is danger, how to scream. Yeah. Though they have the technology, you can be, for example, in Pinsville, someone in Grand Crew, when there's the police will take note. Yeah. But we don't have the technology, so it's a gradual process. But the kids must be educated, and we're hearing stepfathers and all tampering with their own stepdaughters. So that's madness. Yeah, it's serious.
Now, the core of today's conversation is...
So before we get there, I will try to talk about, we lost our Professor Kamayesi Duago. And Duago, all of us are aware, one of the best brains, media developer. His desire was to see young Liberian journalists develop the level of potential to ensure that the media landscape is fully developed. He was at the LMC to reactivate the LMC. He died. We've been in discussion with family members this week from the family meeting yesterday. Another will be here Wednesday. Is like he'll be buried, and so the young will announce the date of vote of condolence and the rest. So I just wanted to pass that.
And it's very important to know. Thanks very kindly for passing that through. The Press Union of Liberia just recently, and I'm trying to be correct with words used, it said that this press release that was issued by the Press Union said the union has suspended, with immediate effect, the membership of 3 freelance journalists, and also sent another journalist to the National Media Council to be investigated. I'd like to know, I understand this was based on their direct involvement with politics. So I'd like to know clearly, what does the PUL statute say about journalists and how much they can get involved with politics?
Well, it's very important. We need not to even create a mind sentiment.
Okay.
There's no provision of our constitution, for example, that forbids anyone for supporting a particular candidate of your choice. Not to join political party now. To support, you can support
without joining any party.
Without joining any party. That is a clause that you can express your opinion, but in the same vein, pledging your support, you should remain within the confines of the Code of Ethics and the Constitution of the President. Because the Code of Ethics, this provision in our preamble says the code is to ensure that members adhere to highest ethical standards and professional competence and good behavior in performing their duty. And the public expects the media to perform with high sense of responsibility without infringing on the rights of individuals and society. So the standard provides that when you want to, because even in the United States, media entities, it has happened in Liberia. But if you pledge support for a candidate or whoever, that should not, you should not compromise the professional ethics for example, in your news. Two, the Constitution is very clear, especially those of us in leadership.
Okay.
So people vying for, when you go to the provisions about, leadership, vying for president, vice president, secretary general, said people vying for this position should not be partisan. Yeah, they should be neutral. There's another clause with our code of ethics that calls for journalists to go beyond partisan line in the discharge of the duty. So you can be journalist, then you join a political party publicly, wearing the party T-shirts or taking leadership position. So the three guys, especially two guys who voluntarily suspended the membership of the president before we confirm it. Because one is the chair of a party, another person is the co-chair. So it is clear that they are suspended. They no longer, doing media work, but they are fully involved in political activities, which of course they have their right. But we want to confirm our constitution that so that people will not just be going about joining party. Then you take microphone, for example, you join CPP. Everybody is clear about you in CPP wearing CPP T-shirt. You take a microphone, you go to CDC. When there is a riot, then they call PUL they be one journalist here. The people say, no, we didn't know anything. Somebody came from one party. They came to our party. So we want people who want to support to be clear. They will still be protected, but then they are not performing, they are not doing media work. So people like Fire, who pledged support for a candidate, did not join party. There's no violation of the Constitution. They were called upon to explain to us further so that we are seeing their comments. Yeah, when you support some of your comments should not infringe on the rights of others. You should operate within the confines of the PUL Constitution. So for now, all of his activities at the PUL, he no longer doing any activity. He was clear that he had interest in a candidate. Then Jabate. So Jabate is also supporting a candidate, but he decided to join a party. So he will forgo the party and come back to the union. We can restore his right. But people who were clear with us that, for now, I want to suspend my activities as journalist until after the political season, like Jabate and the rest. We agree, but the union confirmed that we suspend their activities, membership, for taking leadership position, like Toure and the rest in Grand Crew, because they are now fully involved in political activities. So that's about the Constitution. We will not infringe on people's rights, but we just want to be clear. If you want to be, it's better to be clear with us. Then we'll have some people. The few have been going out of the city.
Are there journalists fronting as politicians?
Yes, out of the so mainly we are concerned with those of you who are practicing, because 2017 elections there were cases before the president was sent to the Media Council. Some of the parties came to the PUL and the council investigated. A journalist reported on Liberty Party at the time, and the cartoon and the story when they brought a complaint was like that journalist was for another party. When we investigated, he apologized. So it is not good professionally per the ethics that you are LBS, then you going to, for example, Liberty Party or UP, then UP, people, Liberia is a small country. As soon as you come and say, the Liberty Party journalist or the UP journalist, the next day you on the microphone discussing against CDC or CPP. Then they say the press. So once you want to be political, then you suspend all your activities
with the president.
With the press. That means you are not performing a journalistic role. If you are affected in the process, in exercising your franchise on the Constitution of the Republic of politically, we can still protect you, but we would advocate for you in different directions. Now that you are a journalist, we will not protest to say Angra went to do politics. Then they said he was caught in the process, riot. Then we put a plaque at the president and say, a journalist was beaten. We know you are a journalist, but you suspended your activities, you're doing and other things. Generally, we want all media institutions in the country, the provisions of our code of ethics to give access, to all candidates who are vying for various positions, like the candidates expressed yes. We developed the code of ethics for Liberian journalists. We have elections reporting. we've been discussing with NEC to review this election code of ethics reporting. So we'll talk about phone-in talk show here, section 1 of the election code of ethics reporting. We talk about reporting on gender, section 2. We also talk about the interest of the public and the coverage of all elections matters. So when journalists are seen in politics broadly with party t-shirts, it will create a level of credibility when we discuss political issues. And we got a responsibility to stabilize this country. So as I was saying now, in one of the counties, I listened to one of the local radio stations. That morning they were on CPP candidates. I tuned to another station because the elder told me 2 stations in that area were rival. I tuned to the other station, they were on CDC. So I drove there. When I called the host, I said, well, are you a party scene for this party? He said, no. I am ELBC. He didn't know me. So I asked for an ID card. Indeed, he's a journalist. But then how did you discuss people that, as if to say CPP, he know much about CPP, or the other group for CDC? I said, that money. So when we cited them, I spoke with them, later to know that there were some invisible hands from the different political institutions who were using it. So I took the code of ethics and gave them the code of ethics. I said, if you want to be political commentators, then you can be members of the union. For now, you have to be clear. Because the reason is that, Angra, we have to ensure stability in our country.
Is there not where do you draw the line? Because would you prefer an amendment to the PUL current constitution, say that if you want to be, a political actor in the future, if and when you decide, you stay there and you don't come back to the PUL, you still have your journalistic practices, yes?
That would be the Congress now. That's why we'll go for Congress. We discuss a lot of issues.
Because at some point, 1 minute, as soon as the election comes,
you can't. I pledge support or I suspend
membership. After the election, you come out and be a journalist. And yet still these people you support are in power now, and people would not think that you're independent because you supported them even though you've come back to the profession.
This is why we try to discourage people from joining parties if they want to support them because of credibility. It happens in the West, but our country, look at the level of thinking faculty towards issues, people reference points. In the West, it doesn't matter. People are still professional. That's why the code of ethics says you have to be professional. Even in your newsrooms, you can do your talk show. Somebody can pay for that. You can divorce. People can kind of pay for your airtime. They can kind of discuss the political issues, PR, that airtime. But when you're producing a news story, you have to be balanced. That's why supporting the people. And once you even supporting them on your radio stations, giving the airtime, that should not go to the level that they will infringe on the rights of the opponent. Once you allow them to start castigating the opponent, you got to break them through. But you can bring them, because media business media is also business, So generally, it's the kind of difficult situation. So we are putting our feet down. Once these people who are very clear, it's clear, and we believe that they did well to be clear. But then our fear too are those who are not clear, but they're using the media platform to portray these political ideologies and negatively profiling our country. So we got our people, who set up a team, investigating, monitoring. So I told this guy, I gave them the code of ethics. The 2 days I spent, the tone changed. So political ownership of media institutions also have the effect. Some people will say, generally they don't pledge support. But the way they do the program, that's what we're putting our feet down. We don't want any confusion in this country.
Now, we have elections coming up, and you talk about giving access to candidates and all of that. But electoral violence has always been an issue with media, people. And once there's a protest and elections, there are several rallies here and there. Journalists are there, security personnel are all over the place. What would you say, and what do you forecast, for the pending senatorial elections, given what we've seen?
What we did 2017, we want to do this. I've been in discussion with state security. I had a discussion with the IG, Patrick Sudo. I called him yesterday, so we can have a forum before and training. Remember, we have a memorandum of understanding, between the joint security and the press union to ensure the protection and safety of journalists during gathering, whether political or protest, that memorandum of understanding is still in effect. And we talk about training and some level of discussion. So, I mean, he working out modality from his end so that we can do that. We also try to hold some, discussion about conflict-sensitive reporting. You can be a journalist, you know that if you report a story in the formal manner, it can inflame the situation, then you report that story. Or you have to determine indicators of conflict. People can be protesting, people running, then you go in there with your camera and say, I'm a journalist, you're giving me a chance. You have to take precaution. So all of these things we discuss in that. And also to work with NEC. Because people must be specialized in elections reporting. That's why we have the Election Code of Ethics reporting here. The booklet is here. Those who will report on elections matters, people were trained.
Yeah.
So we need to do that again. We've been working on that, having our own discussion. So it's very key because I know the media, the media has been covering a lot of elections, by elections, national elections, and so forth. And if not 100%, but at least I gave them 90% of attributing those results, to the tally sheets that are placed on the board.
Yeah.
And then speaking with elections, authorities, speaking with those who are concerned. What we need to do now during this voters registration exercise is for NEC, as we concluded with them, we're still working with Mr. Flomo, for media institutions to determine those who will provide coverage. The last time there was information around to send listings of journalists. Not everybody will be covering, going to the polling center, who are the specialty, to provide the level of coverage. But so all of these are working out that. But beyond that, trained journalists are aware that to report any story, especially controversial story, there are two sides, and you have the responsibility to say the truth to the public. So working out all of these, and we made progress. The level of coverage being provided during this political season, I mean, we haven't received a report very grave that may have the capability of derailing the peace process. Those who are usually involved in some of the disruption of status quo are politicians themselves, and the media just highlight that. In fact, we encouraging our colleagues not to even give credence to certain comments that are not reconciliatory by some politicians during the election time, because during elections, people will say all kinds of things. What are the truth or not? They're trying to get at the opponent. So the public will be monitoring the radio, reading the local daily television, watching the media. Now is to provide a platform. I mean, here we did it. ELBC did it before. One of the elections, they had a waiver. You coming on Anchorage show, if you're trying to deviate from the subject matter, Anchorage can discontinue the discussion, even though you pay for the program. But if you're trying to, engage in discussion that can disrupt the peace process, there's a waiver. So I'm encouraging various media institutions to do that. You can come on state radio, you're going to discuss a platform. Normally they say they can build roads, they'll build hospitals, they'll provide scholarship. You already informed you that you're going to provide scholarship and build road as a subject of discussion. But then you came, instead of discussing that, you begin to use invectives or accusations on the radio. Because once your guest accuse a person, that person must have the time on your station. These are some of the things we are talking about.
All right, if you're just joining us, you're listening to the Super Morning Show. The president of the PUL is here, Mr. Charles Coffey, joining us on the program. And if you have questions for him or probably additional recommendations to share, which will be very helpful to improve the sort of reporting as we get close to elections, and also talking about quote-unquote partisan journalism. Yeah, so just before we come back to Mr.
If you see these people making SOS call, it doesn't mean the family members did not exert frantic efforts to ensure their safety. Okay. They will send them to hospitals, they will work with the Press Union, but if it is beyond the jurisdiction of our country, reference to medical facilities, and they need to seek further medical attention abroad, the resources are needed. So that's the time you see us saying, please help, please do this. So that's another.
Okay, well said. Good morning. Okay, that person dropped off the line. Let me take the next one here. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. What is your name?
Yeah, I'm Ramatai. I'm from Tugoro.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Coffey.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, Mr. Coffey, some of the issue we have problem with is that the issue of most of the radio stations that normally just abused publicly. And that issue needs to be addressed seriously. You see, there are some of the media institutions probably may not for all of radio names, but there are some of the media institutions just give lack of false information that which of course at any point in time that they create problems for the media angle. This is some of the reasons sometimes push you all, some of the media police are being attacked by other government officials or social group. Because sometimes, that's what you say that there are some information that you say to the public, you know that information will cause chaos. And you know that the station is all about it, then you get to come out with that information, it causes serious embarrassment for the public and that of the journalist angle. Because they are all good journalists. But among them, they are all bad ones. They are also creating problems for the other people. So Mr. Coffey, I ask you that beg you, please try to build some of the media institutions and some of their methods that some of the key, the shit that they send to information on some of their platforms, you look at it, view some of it, and see how effective they are critical analysis on the radio that doing from going with that embarrass the media angle. Thank you, Mr. Coffey.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's take the next call. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Daniel Yankona.
Hey, Dan. Welcome, Mr. VB.
Thank you so kindly for bringing my boss on the show. I just particularly called to protest and what he said. And on the enforcement of Parliament journalists ahead of this midterm senatorial election. What is clear, the Press Union of Liberia standard, the number one standard, is that we should be non-political, non-partisan. So if we go clearly and go political party, then we breach that supposed standard of being a part of the Press Union. So all we did over the weekend was to try to suspend these people and turn them over to the National Media Council for further investigation. And they are, we are convinced that they will be adjourned guilty. They recommend further sanction for them with the intent that others will be deterred from following suit. So yes, that's just to explain how, and we are going to be very vigilant. President mentioned that we are going to be vigilant. We've appointed all of our committees, our statutory committees. We've appointed our council coordinators, our regional coordinators. This structure will add up to our designated staff the elect officer who is keeping eye on all activities of journalists, against journalists, and in favor of journalists. We're tracking them. After the quarter, we publish them. So we will going to remain engaged. We don't want a case where we will have the media contributing to violence and have a monthly recurrence of 1994 rather.
Okay.
We pray against that. We keep on going to pray, but we'll back towards addressing those ultimate conditions. Thank you for the work you do at ELBC, and we hope that you will also get our side. You are state radio, you serve the country, you serve the current administration, and serve the people. Continue to balance your story. We don't want a case where, like 2017, our international partner of the European Union has an issue statement condemning the state radio. So remain very professional. I enjoy it. Right.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yankona. Thank you very much. Let's take the next call. Good morning.
Good morning, Daniel, and good morning to your studio.
Welcome. Go ahead, please.
This is 2.7 coming from Maryland County.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let me join the last call. What makes journalism to be a professional institution and the activity, what makes it to be professional is the way you treat people, well, from within the cycle of government or from the opposition cycle. Once you give everyone equal opportunity, this is what we call free speech and freedom of expression in terms of being in democracy or in terms of practicing democracy. So just as the guy said in 2017, it was like being clear. Sometimes when you want to give your opinion in terms of what the past government during that time, somebody will just call you up without any respect. Even if the call was not bad for me or insulting, but what you say, this
right, thank you very kindly for joining us. Let me come back to Mr. Coffey now to respond to some of the concerns before we wrap up, Mr. Coffey.
I think some of the issues about maybe commenting and supporting us, yeah, it's true, as I said. There are reports of, some media or some media institutions' way of broadcast, but that's why we are saying they should conform to ethical principles. We all need to work together. People who own radio stations, we've been having discussions with them. Politicians also who own media institutions, they must make sure that we keep the country stable. Their desire to arrive at certain level in politics or to get certain positions should not look at our country in a style that can affect everybody. That's why we are proposing this media commission, to help us address some of these things. But professionally, even a journalist, we know everyone will go to vote. You will cast a vote. The fact that you're going to vote for a candidate, that person is this person you have interest in. But that should not compromise your professional ethics. Don't use the media as a stepping stone to get at your political opponent.
There's one quick question from Tupa before we wrap up. Tupa Tanu from Lofa County. He's asking, what about those journalists who openly pronounce themselves as public relation officers for candidates? And they're still journalists, but they call themselves PROs for candidates.
That we have to investigate further. Okay. But the PUL has different categories of membership. Okay. We got people who are PRO and they are members of the Press Union. They are not in the mainstream, and they are still full members. The Constitution provides once you are a journalist, you become PRO. You are a PRO. Okay. Merely our concern is that do not join a political party. Don't be partisan. So that's it. And we got affiliate members, associate members, full members. Generally, everybody, once you're still a member of the Press Union, you should conform to ethical standards and professional competence. That's our response. Once you conform to all of these things, that means you'll be professional. Your actions or your activities will not undermine the journalism profession. So those who want to be PRO for candidates and the rest, these are people who pledging their support. We must know them, because I can't just say John Brown is a PRO for a political party or candidate A or candidate B.
All right, Mr. Coffey, let's take your parting comments now.
Well, thank you for this forum. The Press Union is not in the business of infringing on the rights of its members. In the meantime, we have a responsibility to uphold the Constitution and the ethics of the Press Union. Once you are practicing as a journalist, your responsibility is to conform to ethical standards. Don't be partisan journalists or embedded journalists. Once you do that, your credibility, it can even create confusion. You're wearing a party t-shirt, party A t-shirt, you going to party B to cover that. Even if you're not in t-shirt, they have seen you before in party A t-shirt. Your appearance at party B to provide coverage will create credibility problem. There could be confusion. So the union is generally discouraging its members and journalists across the country to conform to ethical principles. You want to be a journalist, please be a journalist. If you want to be political, be clear with us and be political, so that your actions will not be seen as you doing political things, but not in media work. But don't be hiding that you are a journalist, but then at the same time you're doing political things, trying to tarnish the image of your political opponents. Two, we're encouraging political leaders, state actors, that their utterances also may have the propensity to undermine the peace process. So while it is true they have to exercise their political franchise, because the journalists are just conveyor belt, to send out their messages, they have to be reconciliatory, they have to be tolerant, so that we can have free, fair, and peaceful elections. So that because of electoral matters, we cannot degenerate our country into a chaotic situation. Warning to all journalists, especially those who are practicing, give all candidates free access to express their views. And the common denominator is Liberia. Though they may have the desire to speak out, but you have to be conflict sensitive. You have to be mindful that this country must be stable. We don't want any problem to say the journalists were responsible, as we heard one of the callers say anything happening. And journalists are not the one who can create confusion in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. He's the president of the Press Union of Liberia, Charles Coffey, joining us. Stay tuned. Next will be